Hey everyone.
Hey guys, welcome back to Obscure MCU. And yes, this is my actual voice again, not the AI or text-to-speech program. Since I'm doing a ranking video, I thought it'd be easier to get my thoughts across just speaking to you directly rather than just typing it out. And for this one, I'm doing a ranking video on all of the Captain America suits in the MCU, from the first Avenger all the way up to Avengers Endgame. And before we get started, if you want to learn more about the specific details of these suits, their functionalities and what they can do, check out the playlist I have on my channel. I do a detailed breakdown on all of the intricate details and the obscure, I guess you could say, details about each costume. So be sure to check out that playlist when you're done watching this ranking. So yeah, let's get started. Starting in D tier, I have the time travel suit from Avengers Endgame. And I know it's not technically a Captain America suit, but it's something that he wore. So just for the sake of completion or continuity or whatever term I guess would fit in this context, I have it on the list and it would be last place. Right above it, I have the rescue suit from Captain America the First Avenger. This is the costume that he wore when he went to go save Bucky in the 107th from the Hydra research base. The suit itself looks cool, but the reason I have it so low is just because functionally it's not exactly a Captain America costume. It's literally just a leather jacket with military gear. I get it's a reference to how he looked from the Ultimates comics during World War II, but in comparison to the other suits we have on this list, it really doesn't compare. Okay, on to the next one. This is in the C tier. I have the Avenger Initiative suit from the first Avengers movie. It also appeared in Thor: The Dark World and Spider-Man: Homecoming and Avengers Endgame, which, now that I'm saying it out loud, I think this is the most reoccurring suit in any of the MCU movies. Maybe next to the Iron Spider, but still, it's kind of crazy how much this one appeared. The suit is a pretty good representation of, if you took his classic look from the comics and tried to modernize it, this is a really good reflection of how that would look. But just something about the multi-piece helmet and just the covered ears, it kind of just looks a bit corny to me, and it really hasn't aged that well, to be honest. The moments we got to see it without the helmet made it look better, but overall it was just a bit too bland, and I'm just not a huge fan of the more saturated blue, I guess you could say. But I really do like the brighter red boots and the gloves, but just overall, the suit just really doesn't do it. And it really doesn't help that they basically made this suit a joke after every appearance it had after the first Avenger. We had like Loki mocking it. It was used for these like cheesy PSAs in Homecoming, and even in Endgame with the whole America's ass joke. It's just not a good reflection on the suit all these years later. Back when I first saw it in theaters, like that moment when he stopped Loki in Germany, I just thought it was like the most badass thing ever. But now it's like, compared to the others, especially like the stealth suit, really just doesn't compare. So yeah, I have it on the C tier here. But right above it on the C tier, I would put the USO suit. It's similar to the Avenger Initiative suit, but this one succeeds where that one fails because it's an interpretation of his classic look. This one just goes for it directly by like completely just copying it, which I think worked to its benefit. Rather than being like an inspiration or a interpretation of it, this was just, okay, here's the suit from the comics and let's try to replicate that in live action. Kind of like what they did with Wanda and WandaVision, even Vision in WandaVision. I think this one kind of took the best of that idea. So yeah, the USO suit, it goes right above it on the C tier. Now onto the B tier. Last place in this tier, I have the Nomad suit from Avengers Infinity War. The reason I have it this high though is just because of how much cooler it looks, to be honest with you. And it also helped that some of the moments in Infinity War Cap had in this suit were probably some of his most iconic moments ever. Like him just holding his own against Thanos for a solid minute, maybe 30 seconds. And also just like that moment in Wakanda, him just running next to Black Panther. Probably one of the coolest moments in the entire MCU. And it was all done using this suit. So that's why I have it so high. And also kind of just looking at it from a in-universe perspective for a minute, I just love the almost unspoken details that you'll kind of pick up on if you're really paying attention. Like the fact that this is the same suit that he wore throughout Civil War, but just years later and just battle damaged. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of that. So that's another reason why the suit's a bit higher. Less for how it looks, more so for what it means, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of why I have it at this placement on the list. And right above it, speaking of Civil War, I have the Civil War suit, or the version 2 of the Avengers suit. The reason I call it that is because, again, if you look at it from an in-universe perspective for a minute, even though the Avengers came together and saved New York in 2012, It wasn't until Hydra was exposed that the Avengers actually became a legitimate group. Like, even if you go back and watch the Phase 2 movies, like in Iron Man 3 and Thor the Dark World, and even, to be honest, in some of Winter Soldier, like, the Avengers will be mentioned in passing, but it's more of a thing that happened rather than an actual group, if that makes sense. So it was post Winter Soldier, after Hydra was exposed, where they really became an actual organization. And just shameless plug, I have a video on my channel detailing this point in time. They have their own branding, the whole Stark Tower thing being turned into Avengers Tower. They really went mainstream between this point in time, which, side note, I think is also really underutilized. Marvel, if anyone is listening, an animated series exploring this whole period of time, you guys have so much money on the table there. I'm telling you, you'll have a lot of people who would watch it. Anyways, back on point, enough of my yapping. The reason I call it version 2 of the Avengers suit was because the Avengers became an official group, and Steve went through a few iterations of the costume in this time. So this would be version 2, basically. And the reason I have it at this point on the list is because among the other versions, this is probably the worst. It has that signature look that the stealth suit established, but in terms of color and overall look, this is probably the least effective because it's honestly pretty bland compared to the others. It removed a lot of the red and white from version 1 of the Avengers suit, and it seems more like a standard, like, tactical stealth suit rather than an actual traditional Captain America costume, which is why I have it on this point on the list. At the top of the B tier is the Strategic Scientific Reserve suit, or the SSR suit, from Captain America the First Avenger. This one's a classic, and it really feels like a suit that if Captain America actually existed in real life and you looked at old footage from World War II, this would be something that he would be wearing. Every detail and every part of the suit is meticulously designed to play a certain role for something. Like, if you look at, like, the strap across his chest, that's like the holster for his rifle, or the suspenders on his suit are reflective of, like, the red stripes you see on the classic Captain America look. Like, everything feels like it has a purpose, which is why I like it so much. It feels tangible, feels real. It's genuinely a great suit, but the reason I have it here on this list is just because the other ones above this are just so much better. Now onto the A tier, I have the stealth suit, and I know this is arguably his most popular suit among fans, and honestly probably some of you guys listening right now think this should be number 1, but it just doesn't have that Captain America aesthetic, which is why I have it a bit lower. I give it a lot of credit because, like I said earlier, almost every suit he wore after this is basically just a copy of this one, but with alternate colors and textures, and I think Marvel knew that they nailed it here, so they kept the overall shape and look and design. So yeah, it earned its spot in A tier, but like I said, it just doesn't have that classic Captain America feel, which is why I have it in 4th place on the list. I'm happy they brought it back for Endgame though, and again, just another shameless plug, I have a video on my channel going into why that might be, from both an in-universe perspective and also from a meta perspective, so be sure to check that out as well. Now on to the S tier. I'm always going back and forth on which one of these 3 is my favorite, so if you were to ask me in the comments tomorrow which one is my top choice, I'll probably give you a different one, but just for the sake of the video, I'd say 3rd place in S tier goes to version 1 of the Avengers suit from Avengers Age of Ultron. Like I said before, the stealth suit really changed the game in terms of looks, but I think they took the stealth suit and just made it even better with this one. I just love that the classic red and white make a return, and also just the shade of blue is a lot brighter. The segmented white sleeves, the gauntlets with the built-in magnets, even just the little details like the Avengers logo on his shoulders is honestly just amazing. And again, from an in-universe perspective, around this time, like I said earlier, Tony really upgraded all the Avengers stuff, so at least from what we've seen on screen, I think this might be his strongest suit. During the fight, when Vision was being born, Steve took a point-blank shot from Iron Man's repulsor to the chest and just got up right after, which is pretty crazy when you look at other people who've been impacted by the repulsor blast. I'm giving the 2nd place spot to the Smithsonian suit from Winter Soldier. This is basically if you took the SSR suit but modernized it and made it even better, in my opinion, because like this is exactly what would happen in real life if Cap actually existed and you left someone from a museum to kind of just draft in an idea of what the SSR suit was based on memory and based on old footage, where it's not exactly the same, but it's close enough where you kind of can't tell the difference unless you really look closely into it. And when you do, you notice all the small subtle changes, like the added red stripe down the center, the padded paneling on the pants, and even just the more like form-fitting feel of it. It kind of makes it feel like a modern superhero suit rather than a old war costume, but still maintains that look where it feels old-fashioned but still kind of modern. I don't know how to describe it, but they really nailed the feel of it, where it doesn't look too out of place. Even like when just seeing him run across a helicarrier and just take down Hydra soldiers, it doesn't seem too off-putting. It's hard to explain, but if you kind of get what I'm saying, like, you know what I mean. Because if you were to take the third act of Winter Soldier but literally use the baggier suit from World War II, it just wouldn't have really felt right, if that makes sense. But they really nailed the transition of making it more modern to like the average superhero stuff. Like, it didn't seem out of place, is basically what I'm trying to say, and they really nailed it here. So that's why I give it second place on the list. The number one spot, to no one's surprise, goes to version 3 of the Avengers suit. And I honestly feel like I don't need to explain why. It's the same base suit as the previously established Avengers uniforms, but it adds the comic accurate scales to the torso and shoulders. And it symbolizes a lot for Steve, because at this point in time, this is the first time he really put back on the mantle of Captain America since the end of Civil War, which kind of adds a bit more significance to the suit itself. And yeah, honestly, there's not much more that I can say that hasn't already been said. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on all the Captain America suits in my rankings. I left a link in the description. Feel free to create your own version and just share it with me on Instagram or Twitter, or even just leave in the comments in your rankings and what they would be. I'll do my best to respond to every comment. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm still blown away by these numbers, guys. Seriously, I can't thank you all enough for watching and continuing to watch and support everything. It means a lot to me. So thank you all so much for that. And next, I'll be doing a ranking video on the Iron Legion suits, and then another Iron Man ranking video on the main suits used from the movie. So like the Marks 1 through 7, and then 42 to 85. So be on the lookout for those. Those will be coming soon. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you all soon.